They've marched to the parliament demanding better pay and directing their anger at President Abdulaziz Bouteflika. A tenth of the entire auxiliary police force took part. The force works in rural areas. Egypt's caretaker prime minister says restoring security in the shortest possible time is a priority for his government. Sam Sharaf spoke to journalists hours after a new-look cabinet was sworn in. Meanwhile, Egypt's prosecutor has ordered the detention of 47 police officers for burning documents at several state security headquarters. Egyptians have been trying to gain access to information gathered by ousted President Mubarak's regime. Shia Muslims have been pushing for more rights in Bahrain in protests directed at the Sunni royal family. And in their latest demonstration, around 200 Shia protesters have been rallying outside the U.S. embassy, calling for Washington to stop backing the monarchy. Protesters have been camping at Manama's Pearl roundabout since last month, but their stand has won only minor concessions. Sultan Qaboos of Oman has ordered a major cabinet reshuffle after weeks of anti-government protests in the strategic Gulf state. State TV is reporting that the Sultan named several new ministers in key posts, including the person who oversees the economy. The move appears to be the latest in a string of concessions. Those are the headlines. Inside Story is up next. Stay with us.
Saudi Arabia mobilizes thousands of troops to try and quell rising dissent in the kingdom. Protesters have called for a day of rage and are using social network sites to rally protesters. But even as King Abdullah announces billions of dollars in social reforms, is this going to be enough to stave off a revolution? And is the House of Saud really listening to the growing voices of discontent? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Darren Jordan. Saudi Arabia is drafting thousands of security personnel in an attempt to crush growing revolt in the kingdom. Meanwhile, Saudi activists have called for a day of rage and are using social networking sites like Facebook to mobilise support. Although it's difficult to estimate how many Saudis could take part in protests, there are three main population centres in the vast Arabian Peninsula state where demonstrations could emerge. The capital Riyadh, with a population of more than 4 million. The main port city of Jeddah, with a population of more than 2 million. And the Shia Muslim areas of the eastern province, which sits on much of the vast reserves of oil in the kingdom. So let's take a look at some of the main demands of the protesters. They're calling for political reform. They want the Consultative Council to be elected rather than appointed. Setting up a constitutional monarchy, a demand that led to the arrest of activists in 2003 and 2004. And they want political prisoners, mainly Shias, to be released. And the Shia minority want equal social and political rights. Well, in an attempt to avoid unrest, King Abdullah unveiled a massive social welfare package worth billions of dollars. But many critics see this as bribery, a way perhaps to buy people's silence. So what exactly is the king offering? Well, the package includes $37 billion worth of extra benefits, targeting education and job creation. He's given all state employees a 15% pay rise. And there'll be an increase in the cash available for Saudi housing loans. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by our guests from London, Abdulaziz Al-Khamis, a campaigner for Saudi Human Rights Centre. Also from London, Mai Yamani, author of a book, Changed Identities, the challenge of the new generation in Saudi Arabia. And joining us on the phone from Jeddah, Khalid Al-Maina, editor-in-chief of the English language Daily Arab News. Welcome to the programme. Mai Yamani in London, let me start with you, if I may. This is Saudi Arabia's worst nightmare, isn't it? I mean, the arrival of the new Arab awakening, as they're calling it, an insurrection in the kingdom. How worried is the House of Saud about the unrest across the region and right on its doorstep?
The wave of revolutions that has come in the region, and since the awakening in Tunis at the beginning of this year, obviously has shaken the Al Saud rulers to the core, because they have usually used their methods, which are oil money, to bribe the population, as we have seen last month when the king offered or promised $37 billion, in other words, to quieten the people. And we usually see the use of force and the security forces crushing the demonstrations. We know that in Saudi Arabia, demonstrations are illegal, punishable by imprisonment and flogging. And there has been a reminder to do this. The problem now is that whether it's the use of the sword is limited and dull and outdated. It's not going to meet the demands on the new challenges that we are facing today.
Okay.
The challenges from Twitter and from they have not really grasped the need to have reform, to have real constitution, and to have the people are asking for dignity and for constitutional monarchy now.
Okay, let's put that point to Khalid Al-Maina. He's on the phone from Jeddah. Khalid Al-Maina, how worried is Saudi Arabia over the growing dissent in the country and the prospect of these uprisings?
Well, I think I would agree that there is an Arab awakening. I would agree that young people in the world, in the Arab world, are becoming restless. We are part of the Arab world. I see things changing. I see since January 25th, 25, a new buzz all over the Arab world. And as I said, Saudi Arabia is part of the Arab world. Young people now talk openly of, trying to be part of a decision-making process. Whatever level it is, their goals are different, their visions are different. And they're not even listening. In my own family, young people don't listen to me anymore. So I think there is a change all around. And it's important that those people who oversee the affairs of the states in the Arab world, including the Gulf and in Saudi Arabia, realize that there is a new constituency out down there. And these people should be listened to and their voices should be heard.
Abdulaziz Al-Khamis, is that correct? Young people want to be part of this democratic decision-making process. I mean, more than 17,000 people have already backed a call on Facebook to hold 2 demonstrations this month. How big is the problem for the House of Saud?
Yes, it's true. And what we observe in the demands on Facebook or on Twitter and other websites, they asking for change in the way how the Al Saud ruling the country. The demands is concentrate on the root out the corruption, and achieve the justice and equality, equitable distribution of wealth, and people wanting to participate and share the power and to have a self-determination through elected Shura Council. They have a constitutional kingdom and